Greetings, Toffees, and Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Blue Frontier. We are officially into January, and so the transfer window is open, and we are at the mid-season point. So we're going to take this opportunity to assess the current state of Everton, where we're at, and look at the key positions of need. Go back to our summer series team assessment where we looked at those positions of need and looked at hundreds of targets across so many different names. We're going to harken back to that and reassess. Are any of these names still available? Are these still the same positions of need? And talk about some of the players and what Everton might look to do. So with that, before we get into it, just a reminder, if you enjoy the show, like, subscribe, leave us a comment, or leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice. We appreciate that very much. Find all of the links in the description of the episode. And with that, I'll hand it off to Ryan to kick things off.
I like that you used the word hearken. That was good.
Thanks.
Yeah, a couple thoughts about this, too. I think it's worth taking a quick glance at performance. We're sitting 8th in the table. It probably won't be that way after today, but you never know. And so the question is, are we really that close to Europe? Do we really want to make a push for that? What does that do for us? And that's a little complicated conversation, really. So let's just table that for now and talk about the fact that we probably want to improve the team. I think we're still looking a little bit long-term. I don't think you want to sacrifice too much for the now. But loans are an idea, so we're going to try and hit every angle. But in terms of current performance, I'd say we're slightly overperforming, James. And so when we start to kind of pull back on some of the numbers, we are in 8th, but in terms of expected points, depending on the model, just using understat because that stays pretty current, we're 12th in expected points. We actually have the third highest overperformance, but we're kind of amongst a group of clubs. It's not like we're Aston Villa, who are almost 17 points ahead of their expected points, which, by the way, for the betting crowd out there, not that I would encourage that sort of behavior, this is the value it has. Sunderland's at 8.5, too. So we're only at a little under 5. But I think if you kind of break down the performance, it's pretty unique. We've only scored 20 goals, but the XG is almost 24. So we're not finishing as well as you'd like. I think that's more coincidence than anything, really. Goals against, we've only given up 20. We're 5th in that regard, but the expected goals against is over 29. So that's a pretty significant overperformance. Again, Jordan Pickford's a good keeper. I would expect that we would consistently overperform against the expected goals against. And we're not going to decompose into post-shot XG, although I think we've gotten some benefits from that as well. Regardless, I don't think our needs have changed that much from the team assessments, James.
No, I don't think they've changed at all. I think this is very much kind of the same. I think we had it pretty bang on in the summer and into the first half of the season where we've lamented over and over again about these positions of need because even though the performances have been vastly improved season over season under David Moyes, there's still the glaring holes that have been exposed time and time again that we've talked about so much on past episodes of the pod.
Yeah, I agree. I think right wing is looking more promising with Tyler Dibbling emerging the last couple matches, but I think some of the same issues still remain. Right back being a massive one, of course, and we'll hit that one first. Center forward, I mean, we stuck with Beto. I think we could debate on whether a different profile is needed in defensive mid. We still don't really have a true defensive mid, and I think that would make a massive difference as well. We talked about left back. I don't know if we're really going to spend too much time on that one because we are too deep there, even if Aznou's not playing a whole lot. One thing to consider is, too, it's largely spoken about how January is not the best time to do business. However, when you say that, it's because other teams are going to do business. So to me, this is an opportunity to go into it with a position of strength and possibly take advantage of certain clubs. I mean, we know certain clubs are behind the 8 ball from a PSR standpoint. Internationally, you always look to France, Nice, Monaco, Lyon. I mean, these are teams that have a ton of talent that maybe need to sell. There's some other situations in the Premier League that guys aren't playing. And I think there's also the factor of the World Cup too. So maybe a loan would work in some of these positions when you have an opportunity to play. And I think the very first one is we really don't have a starting right back. And I think it's very obvious, James, at least to me, and I think it is to you too, that when Jake O'Brien plays down the middle, we're a different team. And I think that speaks to the need, even if this person wouldn't come in and slot right away at right back, at least to have a player that's a little more well-rounded, can defend in space, and support the attack better, I think that would be ideal. And I think what's crazy about the way the summer worked is it seems like we were on early on Kenny Tete, missed out on Walker Peters as well. So clearly we thought there was a need to. I think we still do think there's a need. How big is this need, and what an impact could this make on the team if we had someone that was maybe a bit more well-rounded, could contribute right away?
I think there's just it's two factors. It's what you mentioned. It's getting Jake O'Brien to not have to play right back because he's so limited, and you get so much more out of him as a center back. And then it's what you get from just having a natural right back who is skilled and capable at a Premier League level. What you can get going forward. Look, Jake O'Brien is fine enough. He can defend okay. He's so limited going forward and in possession in wide areas that I just think an upgrade, someone a little bit more comfortable who can link up with Njai or Tyler Dibbling down the right-hand flank would be the biggest possible leap that this Everton team could make if you slot someone in there, maybe besides bringing Jared Branthwaite back to full fitness.
And look, if maybe the right guy's not there, I could see a loan or something, but it would be nice to have that permanent fixture there because you could move James Gardner. Merlin Rolls showed some positional flexibility. I don't know if that's necessarily what you want to go forward with. Both of them give Everton better options on the ball. Maybe they could play inverted or something different. But that really just kind of kicks the can. Again, if the opportunity doesn't present itself, fine. But I think in this particular instance, I personally think going with a younger player, too, that can develop but can play some now, I think is ideal just because the drop-off is so dramatic. Like if you pick, and I would go big here, too, if I could. I mean, if you're going to go with a young player, you want a young player that's capable of playing now. Maybe they'll grow a bit. But I think you've got to look at someone that has the potential of being a top-flight Premier League right back. Because my thought is, you could go loan, focus maybe on Europe, someone that's already capable of playing, but the opportunity is now. Like, even if the player is young and maybe not perfect, there's still going to be an upgrade over what we have now. I suppose we could stand still. Nathan Patterson maybe could. Yeah, no. So I think that's the problem. And honestly, for Nathan Patterson's sake, I would try and look to loan him out if you could. Okay. And I think that's a potential winner for us in the summer because maybe you could increase his value more. Or maybe he comes back and he gives you that super wingback type player and you have someone that's well-rounded. You just never know. But I will say this, though, James, kind of going back to the summer and all the lists of guys we had, I think, looking at free agents, kind of the relegation group, I don't think we missed too many here.
No, we talked about, you talked about Tete and Walker Peters already. Soufal from West Ham, he went to Hoffenheim. Twanzebe went to Burnley from Ipswich. Aina had the option executed. We talked about James Justin. That was one that even lingered maybe closer to the end of the window, but Leeds then paid almost $10 million for
Big
him.
number.
Not a deal that I'm thankful Everton weren't on the other end of that one. There were a couple others. Jonathan Klaus, maybe a loan, but not really sold on that one. Mats Rorslev at 25 years old. There was an option to buy at Wolfsburg. They didn't take it. He ended up moving to Southampton. Aaron Hickey was an interesting one as well. He's played a little bit, but injuries continue to be kind of a problem for him. And then you get into some of the younger guys that I think were maybe a little bit interesting and I think still are.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, once you kind of get past relegation, free agents, some of those other opportunities that are out there, I think there's a group of players that were available in the summer that may be pricey now, but I think are worth looking at. So a couple guys, and we'll get through them pretty quickly. Vanderson, Sasha Bowie, Joe Scally, the American, Gueladue, who's at Afrikaan, Mo Simakan, and then we'll get in the Roma situation. But let's first start off with Vanderson. There's some discussion that Monaco need to sell. They've always struggled a little bit with some of the balance of revenue. They're not doing as well as you would like in the league. But Vanderson, I mean, he had a hamstring issue for about a month. He's back. He wouldn't be cheap, but he is kind of the all-around type right back that I think could play at a higher level. He's not perfect, but I still think they'd ask for a chunk of change. But this is the type of player that I think, of all the guys out there, he'd probably be kind of the biggest name, biggest number guy that you could maybe plug and play. So I think he's someone that we should consider. I think he's got the physicality to play within the Premier League as well and has some balance to him. He's certainly an attractive option, James. Do we agree?
100%. Well-rounded. I think you factor in maybe a little bit of time to acclimate to the change in league.
He's 24, though. I mean, he's played in Brazil. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have any question about him getting there. I just think it's not like an immediate plug and play necessarily. He could slot right in. I have no question about that. But you might have to bear a couple, maybe less than stellar performances before he gets up to speed. But agreed, like the 24-year-old age range, maybe I'd even like us to go a little bit younger, but
he's a pretty mature player. You got a chance of being able to plug and play a guy like this, though, James, right? And so maybe if we were willing to spend the money, that's kind of the type of guy. Sasha Bowie at Bayern is 24. He has been, last summer, even the summer before that, he was thought of as debatably the best young right back in all of world football. He's 24 now. He'll certainly be available. There have been some links to Newcastle, Palace. He's had some injuries. There was some discussion that Marseille might be close for him to go back to his native France. I guess that was rejected. There's some talk about going back to Galatasaray. That was rejected. I don't know. Loan to buy, maybe. To me, when I watch him, he looks off to me. Like he takes strange angles on defense. I haven't really seen the maturity, but he hasn't been playing. And he's a decent physical profile. He can definitely get forward and serve a ball a bit. So, I think a loan for a guy like this with an option would be an amazing deal, certainly worth a risk type taking. Probably on decent wages. Some concerns on this one, but this is an interesting one, I think.
Yeah, I think in January in particular, players like this being available presents an interesting kind of conundrum where you do want maybe more of a sure thing, but if the value is there to take the risk and the upside of a guy like this, I think you kind of have to take it if you don't feel like you're overextending yourself a little bit. If you feel strike when the iron's hot, basically.
Yeah, we talked about some of the other guys too. Joe Scally, I love his versatility. I think he's a really good player. I would love to get an American finally. I think he's one that could play at the Premier League level. He can play center back. He can play left back as well. I just don't think that they'd be willing to move him. But it might also give him a shot in the arm and a chance to maybe make the final roster for the U.S. I think that's slightly in doubt for him. Probably shouldn't be, but I think it is. Guela Doué. Strasbourg, he's at African. I think the problem with him was the numbers were too high. Strasbourg obviously is a funnel club to Chelsea. Maresca being out, God knows what that means at this point. I know Brighton was interested in him. He's a little different. He's about 6'1". He's got size. He wins his battle. He has pace for sure. Crosses the ball a little bit, but he almost tucks inside and runs with it even a little bit better. But I do like how he runs with the ball. He is a fairly vertical player at times. He's got a little bit of work to do defensively, but decision-making angles is not perfect. He maybe needs to learn to turn out a little bit better, but there's a lot to work with in terms of a physical profile. I don't think he even uses his size or his length that well. This is the type of guy that you'd put him in there, he'd make some mistakes, but he does seem to be the right physical profile that would work in the Premier League. Again, he's gone to the African Cup of Nations, and I don't know why Strasbourg, a.k.a. Chelsea, would really want to do business with us now, and I think you'd have to pay an arm and a leg because they're at a point of strength here.
Yeah, I think so. But again, at 22 years old, a year or two younger than the other guys we've discussed so far, like the time to develop and improve, I just think he's going to be a very good player. And what he would bring in terms of attacking output, I think really, considering what we've been missing from the right back position, would offset maybe some of his shortcomings defensively.
I actually would love a situation where you have a guy like Dibbling that could stay wide and a guy that can tuck into the middle like this. I think that's a really interesting thing. We saw Seamus Tolman do it for years too. Something like that would be really fascinating. I just like the physical profile too. He's not someone who's going to get out muscled or anything like that. Okay, we had Mo Simikin this summer. I don't think that's a goer down the sir. He's making so much money, I'm sure. He's more of a center back anyway, but I like the player. Roma. So we'll hit Roma a couple times on this one because obviously we have the partnership with them. They have some interesting players and some depth in strange areas. They move for Wesley. He's been playing on the left and right at times. Salik has been playing on the right for them. He has a year left. I think he has a second-year option, so maybe you could get a loan in. I don't think so, though. I think they need someone that's going to perform. But I will say this. Wrench is still there at 23. He's not playing that much. he really only came in when Salik was on a red card. James, I think this guy's a pretty underrated player and be an interesting guy to bring in.
I liked Wrench a lot in the summer. I thought he would be one of the more realistic options, again, considering the relationship, quote unquote. There's no relationship between the clubs. But yeah, Wrench can get up and down. I think he'd be a really good option. And again, that same age profile that you want. If he's on the fringes at Roma, I don't see who loses in this type of scenario if we were to bring him in. And I think he would definitely almost immediately get minutes at Everton. I like that idea a lot. Probably, I think, in terms of realism and what you could probably get in terms of price, he might be the best option for me in this list.
I think so too. I mean, Roma has Angelino that can play on the left side. That is probably their starter when healthy. That slides, Salik back over there to provide depth. They have a young player, Bouba Sangaré. I don't think he would be an option. But the point is, I think they've got enough depth to kind of deal with that just fine. So to me, there's certainly an opportunity there. And, you obviously give a kid a chance to maybe make a push for the Dutch team as well. And I think that's a big factor. Okay. One thing that's worth noting too, in January, James, always a good time to do business with South American clubs. They're kind of on their break. They're looking to make deals. So we had mentioned a couple guys, one of which was Agustin Gi at Palmeiras. Big, strong, fast guy. I loved him at San Lorenzo. 6'1", really intense guy. Very committed to defense. He's got some flair. He can get forward. Maybe not the best crosser, not the most elegant right foot. You could probably get a player like this, 10, 15 million, maybe. Wasn't playing and starting at Palmeiras, which I thought was a little bit surprising. We mentioned him a lot. I love this player. I would love for us to make a foray into South America like this. I know it doesn't seem Moyes loves Charlie, but to give him a partner in crime from Argentina, and it seems like the Everton crowd really responds to guys like this. I like him. You could do a lot worse. And to me, this is the type of guy you'd make a move for, in theory, a profile like this. Doesn't have to be a South American. Because although it's a big jump, I don't think it's that big a jump from Brazil. I think the Brazilian league is really, really good. And for me, I know he's better than Patterson already. I just think he's a guy that you can live and deal with. And maybe he's not going to help you perfectly in your push for Europe. But I think at least having someone out there that's a natural right back, that's not so risky in terms of just flying forward. I don't know. I think it's a good profile. I would love for us to make a move for someone like this. He's not the only one out there. I think I just want to see us take advantage of the South American market more.
Yeah, I'd love to see that too. And it'll be a really interesting test of kind of the now permanently installed recruitment team and technical team at Everton to see what sort of targets we end up going after being concretely linked with. Because I think this is just a market that has been so under accessed by Everton in the recent past and really the long term. There's just a breadbasket of talent down there that we really should be tapping into much more.
And we have a good lead scout in South America, a guy I know. He's quite good, and really he's Argentinian, so he knows the lay of the land very well out there. And I'm a little surprised we haven't necessarily leveraged him. But the point is, it's not like we're not aware of the talents there too. I'd love for us to make a jump forward to that. We brought up some other similar players that were kind of on the younger end, top talents that we thought maybe we had a chance for in the summer. A lot of these have not really, the situation has not changed, certainly in our favor for doing business in January. Reed in particular, Feyenoord, is 18. He's probably the best thought of young right back on the planet right now. I think he's out of reach for us at this point. I loved Hector Fort at Barcelona, who's 18, but he signed the extension with Barca, and he's on loan to Elche. So I don't. That's not one. Mark Pubil was another one. He moved to Atletico, so forget about that. He has been only playing recently, though, and it's been at center back. So, yeah, you never know. I mean, he's 22. He's pretty mature. But, again, he gives you a similar profile where you feel like you're not risking too much because he's not a bomber forward or anything. And he might be a really good fit. But and what are you going to do, loan him in and then get an option to buy a year after he moved to Atletico? It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Try Hume is one that we brought up at Sunderland. I never thought he's good enough, and I still don't. He's 23. He never made a move at all to anyone, which, fine. Sunderland's playing well. We noticed that. Okay. Our name that I think universally we all loved, who we really wanted to see come in, was Thiago Santos at Lille. Now, he got hurt, and it wasn't a good injury. And, he's back playing now. Now, I don't know if you've had much of a chance to watch him, James, but he doesn't look back to me. And I think, I watched him a couple times recently, and I just thought, man, he looks a little shaky, doesn't look explosive, and sometimes it can take a while to recover from a knee injury. So if you're going to make a move for a guy like this, I think you want to wait for him to be a little more fit and ready to go. He's not locked in as a starter over there for those reasons. It's too bad, though, because I think there's an opportunity here. There are a couple guys we have been linked with, both now and previously, that are still out there that could have an opportunity. Tim Weah is not. Like, he's on loan to Marseille now. He's playing lots of right back, too. But there are other two names in here that I think are worth the discussion.
Yeah, the big one that's been definitely a big topic of discussion in our Discord over the summer and the last few months is Juan Luis Sanchez, still just 21 years old at Sevilla. He signed an extension through 2029, so protecting his value perhaps in the event of a transfer. Sevilla are sitting in mid-table. There were rumors that Everton were looking at him, but saw him profiled as more of a DM, I think, something like
Weird.
that. But I don't really think, I think he's kind of destined to play right back. I still think he's a very good player, and I think he would help this team a lot. I'm sure he's on lists that the club are looking at, but price obviously a factor here. So liked him a lot. You mentioned Weah. Vitinho, 26 years old, right back at Botafogo, ended up moving to Burnley for $8 million. He's played a little bit. He's okay.
Yeah, and he's back at Botafogo after that, right? So, I mean, we've seen him before. He's okay, like you said. And I'm not saying if you move for someone like this, you wouldn't slot him in and maybe he'd fill in a gap, but I just think that's a waste of money to me. The opportunity here is let's go get someone. I like Sanchez at Sevilla. I've liked him from day one. He's just a very solid all-around right back and player in general. He's got good skills. He's got good size. He's not absolutely lightning, but I think he's quick enough to defend in space and certainly skilled enough. I like him a lot. Remember, we thought the deal was done with Napoli, right?
Right.
I mean, that speaks volumes to him as well, too. I mean, that's a pretty good sign. Yeah, he would be the one probably that, to me, would make the most sense out of anyone, knowing that we've been linked to him. And I just think that profile makes sense just from what the Premier League requires and what we require. Okay, a couple wild cards on here. One is Omar Al-Halali at Espanyol. He's still there. He's 6 foot tall, release clause of 15 mil, supposedly. Yeah, I remember when we watched him this summer, we saw him lock down Vinicius, and I was like, whoa. Moroccan, Spanish. He looked like a very good defender, but looked fairly limited going forward to me. So still young. Wouldn't be upset if we made a move for a guy like that. But I think we probably want to err a little bit more on the side of an attacking player. You can always put JB back there if you really want someone that could sit back and defend, or Merlin, apparently. Another one, too, is Alex Freeman. USA, right? Yeah, we have. I mean, look, he's 6'2". It's funny that he's Antonio Freeman's dad, so everyone thinks he's some phenomenal athlete, but I think he's a better footballer maybe than just pure athlete. But he's only 20. I think he's still 20, might be 21. In Orlando, I mean, you have that sort of length, 6'2". He's got pretty good ball control for his size. I mean, that's a big leap. I know Parma bid very low for it. I don't think he'd be very expensive. I think he will feature for the U.S. in the World Cup. I like this player a lot. I don't know if he's a plug-and-play type guy. The problem is, though, I mean, now is the time to go get someone like this, an American that plays in MLS, because if you wait for the World Cup and he plays well in the World Cup, he's $10 million.
Right. And I think that is like the tightrope that Everton have to walk this window of, do you get like a project guy or a guy who's going to take a little bit longer? What is the impetus for signing a right back? Is it to improve the team immediately? Or are you looking 6, 12, 18, 24 months down the road where this team could potentially be? I think we both on this show, and not speaking for Sean, but Sean as well, would lean towards the long-term view, but you still want someone with a pretty high floor to come in almost immediately.
Yeah, I think you can pay for less risk in this instance because it's a position where you can plug and play someone. So maybe I wouldn't pick someone totally raw. But yeah, I would pay some money here to maybe get the 23-year-old that's a little more fully formed that can be plugged in. And a guy like Sanchez is 21, I think is very well-rounded, is a good option. Al-Hilali's an interesting one, too, at Espanyol. I think there are a lot of guys out there. So a couple other recent links. Jaden Bogle, 25 years old at Leeds. I actually like him as a player. Why on earth would they make that move?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
No sense. El Awadi, 24, at Genk. He's been linked to us as well. Zachary is his first name. Some people really, really like him. He's a little bit more attacking in nature, but Genk is just more attacking in nature. I think you've got to be cognizant of some of the numbers when you're playing for a side like this. I think his market value, last time I checked, was 15 million euros. He might be gettable, but Genk's obviously in battles for other things. He's a thought. I like some of the other guys a little bit better, but he fits the data. Like if we recall in the summer, James, we did kind of a data version where we looked at defensive win rates, progressive runs, and crosses. And it likes him, it likes Sanchez, it likes Wrench. And I mean, I got to admit, James, when I kind of look back at it, Wrench seems like such a low-risk kind of option to plug in there, that doesn't sacrifice really anything. We don't need a huge outlay for someone like that. But I really think if you can get Sanchez, I think he could be a really, really good right back. I don't know. So what are your thoughts here? We've gone through a lot of names again.
Yeah, no, I think that short list that you just rattled off, the database guys, based on the discussions we've had in the summer and kind of how their seasons have unfolded through the first half of this campaign, I'd be happy with almost any of them. Again, we're talking about you want to be a little pragmatic. You want to seek value where you can get it. And I think all of these guys represent that in different kind of forms. You've got but all of them are sort of able to contribute right now based on what we've seen from them. And that's ultimately what we want from this position is the contribute now with the higher upside. And I think they all kind of have that.
Yeah, opportunity is a factor here, too. So if you can get a guy like Vanderson for a better fee than you could in the summer because Monaco's maybe, struggling a little bit financially, knowing they're mid-table and there may be some risks there. If you could get a Sacha Boey on loan with an option to buy, those might be the right types of deal that Everton makes so we don't sacrifice the spending power in the summer. Mm-hmm. It's been indicated we have some wiggle room, but that's also the type of move where you could make another move in the window as well. So, okay, James, Pepsi Challenge, my friend. Who are you going with?
I still have to go. I have to go with Sanchez. He's just been such a hot button topic, but I think Wrench is, of those guys, the most likely that we could see at Everton in the window. And I still think that's a very, very good fallback.
Yeah, the Wrench I think would be a really interesting move that I could actually see us making.
Yes.
But yeah, I think Sanchez is a low-risk guy even though he's young. I think he's a very well-rounded player and could do very well. Doué would be interesting too. I just think he's going to be too expensive and not doable. If we went big and went after Vanderson, I think he might be the best player that you could maybe get. But Monaco's not going to let him go for nothing. And a loan for a Sacha Boey might be interesting, even though I'm very skeptical of him and I feel like he's regressed a little bit. But you never know. So, and obviously I would love GI from Palmeiras. But yeah, Wrench seems like one that could happen that I think might be a wise move to give him a shot, knowing that an option to buy probably wouldn't really be big either. Right. So, okay, makes sense. All right, now let's move on to another position of need, center forward. And let's caveat this by I don't subscribe to the idea that buying center forwards brings goals. I think that idea is completely absurd. So to me, I think we would only move for a center forward if they were either super cheap or we could sell Beto. And I personally wouldn't move for a center forward unless we could sell Beto. And part of the reason why I would say that is the emergence of Tyler Dibbling on the right side, I think could allow Njai to play and drop in the middle potentially if you wanted a different look. Otherwise, Barry's performing fine. My only critique about Beto is if you can sell him now, if you could sell him buying the same window sometimes, James, like you can underpay, it works out, right? Mm-hmm. Beto to me is maybe not the best profile for how we're playing. And if you want that guy to kind of run in behind, and he's a bit of a bully, like he's still useful. Barry is a little bit of that player anyway. I could see more of an all-around center forward. And in the summer, we talked about maybe getting a more mature player to come in now, rather than making a move for a Barry and waiting to sell Beto in the summer. Beto has a year. There were some lists here on the guys' expiring contracts. And and a free here that's they're two still available. But let's go through the expiring contracts. I don't know if we missed any here, but Callum Wilson stands out like a sore thumb to me. He's been very good. I know a lot of people criticize that idea. But, Vardy's been good for Como, exaggerated how good he's been. I think they gave him, Player of the Month for some strange reason. I don't even understand why. He has great talent around him. Danny Ings didn't miss anything. He's not really played much for Sheffield. Mecca for Wolfsburg, hamstrings gave out. So we thought that would be a risk, and it happened. Marco, who I pushed for big time, went back to Red Star. He's been good when he's healthy, but whatever. Luc de Jong signed with Porto. Ligament issues. Came back the other day and is out again, so forget about it.
Tough.
Edouard's doing well at Lens, but I don't know how great he would have been. Did we really miss one here, James? If there was an opportunity to sell Beto, I guess it didn't matter.
Yeah, I do think that kind of factors in. Some of these guys are okay, could have given us maybe a bit of a different look, and as you say, Callum Wilson has kind of proven some of the doubters wrong, but we know Beto has just had a really poor first half of the season in terms of finishing. So I think that in hindsight, it's okay, well, maybe any of these guys would have finished some of the chances Beto has gotten. But
True.
I think the emergence of Barry of late, he's improving, he's getting those minutes. I think it kind of vindicates the decision to kind of sit on our hands and really make him the main move.
Yeah, a lot of people criticize the finishing, but again, a lot of this is just cyclical. Finishing comes and goes. Neither of these guys are clinical finishers. They're not amazing finishers, and you got to live with the ups and downs there. And people point to Calvert-Lewin suddenly becoming a great finisher. He's not. He's on a hot streak, and he's had some good opportunities, and he's finished them to his credit. But yeah, there's very few people out there that consistently beat their opportunities, and you just have to accept that sometimes, and that's the reality of it. Strikers miss chances is how it works. Any other expiring contracts or frees available? There are a couple here. The first one, I can't imagine Michele Antonio can come in and contribute, can he?
David Moyes might beg to differ with that.
Oh, you don't think do you think we'd do that?
At 35 years old, I would say probably not. As again, this is all under the assumption that you move Beto, you bring in Antonio. I think that's a pretty significant regression. Although Antonio, he's a useful enough player back in his day. I just think at this point, I'd be very skeptical that he could really be a deputy to Tierno Barry. You're really riding on Barry.
Yeah,
healthy and contributing.
And I don't know if his profile's very different anyway. Too, they were playing behind the ball a lot too. He doesn't give us that much different look, even if he's, hitting on all cylinders. And at 35, I shouldn't joke around about cylinders with that guy and hitting on them performance-wise. That guy will need his own driver if he comes. The other one for me, near and dear to my heart here in D.C., is Christian Benteke. So he's available on a free. Okay, he's 35 years old. He's been in MLS, but he's been outstanding in MLS. Obviously, he's more of a final third guy, getting his head onto things, but his impact on the United squad was he was thought as a very good leader. Maybe that's a good mentor for Thierry Barry. All I'm thinking about is cheap options, basically. And I'll say this. If you brought in a guy like this, knowing that you're going to sell Beto in the summer, he's a last 20 minutes, you've got the ball, you need the goal, you need the guy in the final third to go up and bury one with his noggin. You could do worse. I know some people probably laugh at me for that, but he is Premier League proven.
So Premier League proven. He really is. It was not too long ago he was banging them in the Prem, but yeah, I just think going for that sort of, and actually, you know what? I'll take it back. If we could get a guy who's capable of coming in, late game impact and getting on the end, if we're just launching things into the box, I'm not that opposed to it. I think that might be a good, shrewd move. Even if he only scores 1 or 2 goals, they could be very impactful ones late in games. So
yeah, you never know. And maybe he'll get some big offer from Saudi and it won't matter. But I thought it was interesting, and he's not one that's been mentioned a lot by other people. Players tend to be forgotten a little bit when they come to North America, except for us North Americans. So I like that angle. Okay, the Roma connection. I think there's some possibilities here. There have been a lot of links to Artem Dovrik, and I want to talk about him in a second, too, but let's talk about the situation, I think, with strikers a little bit at Roma. The first one's Evan Ferguson. They've got him on loan. I don't know how that would even work from Brighton. Would they flip the loan fee? The buy option's really high. I can't imagine Roma's going to take it. However, he is starting to find his feet at Roma, and has been starting recently. I think this one might be a little complicated, don't you think?
Yeah, it seems like the logistics of it would be too complicated, and I don't know if I know he was having a really rough start to life in Rome, but as you say, he's starting to kind of grow into the role a little bit. I saw something about them potentially terminating the loan, but I don't think that that's going to happen any longer. Logistically, it doesn't really seem to make sense, especially when you consider the next guy who's someone that we've actually been concretely linked with.
Yeah, and I think talking about Dubvik again, is 28. He looks like he's more out of favor than Ferguson. He's been out over a month with a hamstring is the problem, though. There was a rumored swap with Beto. That's kind of a weird one for me. Number one, he's on a long-term deal. So I think the concern with him is he put up crazy numbers at Girona in a very system-oriented team that was back and forth, and they had an amazing year. And he played very well. But he got kind of the big deal off of that, and he's not been great at Roma. Now, I'll say this. I think he's a better player than Beto. He's certainly more predictable. He's more well-rounded. You'd see fewer of those big touches from Beto. I like Beto's unpredictability. I think it helps him in some ways. But I think he's a much better fit for the way Everton plays now. And look, he's big and strong. Like, you don't have to worry about the physicality in the Premier League. He's got a good left foot. He's not perfect. Carry the ball a little bit. He does some good things. But is this the type of guy that you want to bank on being your man, or bank on Barry being your guy and this is your second guy for the next multiple years? I don't know if that's a real sound decision, but I will say this. He would solve the center forward problem, assuming Barry continues to emerge for a while, if you wanted to make the move and get rid of Beto at this point. I just don't think an investment in a 28-year-old at this point at that sort of money makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I'm curious your take on this one.
Well, I also question, I know he's been out of favor of Roma, but do they view Beto as a better, any kind of swap deal? Doesn't
a little
really
odd,
seem
right?
Like it makes sense.
I mean, Beto's been good in Serie A, I guess.
It's true. That's true. That's a fair point. Maybe they want to see him kind of try to rekindle that. But for me, I mean, you get another Ukrainian in the mix with Mikolenko. That could play a factor. I do agree with you that he's a little bit more well-rounded and could bring a little bit more of a stable presence kind of leading the line. But the recent injury is a little bit of a concern. Again, you're talking about the Premier League where most teams don't really have two amazing strikers. If you're banking on Barry being the guy, him as a backup, I just think it's kind of a treading water type of move. He is a little bit better than Beto, but marginally. And I guess the main thing about him is that it is a different kind of look. He brings, Moyes wants to change things up, and he might be a better fit in certain game states where we're trying to do something a little bit different than we might typically.
Yeah, the one nice part is initially I was concerned if there was going to be kind of like a loan move. If you could sell Beto and bring him in on loan, that might be a logical thing to do now that he is back. He did play a couple minutes the other day. He got in right before Wrench did.
Classic.
So it's well, but you look at this team and you feel like there's an opportunity maybe to move and make a move and do something differently. And maybe they feel like Beto's a better fit for Gasperini. I mean, it's entirely possible. Some of the athletic players that he's had in the past, it's hard to see as Beto being kind of that smooth operator, but it's a possibility. Some other things, too, like Tammy Abraham is still out on loan at Besiktas from Roma with an option to buy. Besiktas is 13 points from the leaders, Galatasaray, at this point. They're in 5th place. They're not having a good year. The obligation to buy there is 13 million euros. He's 28 in October, but he's got a longer-term deal with Roma. Apparently the deal he was going to sign was going to be big wages in Turkey, starting at 6 million and escalating from then. And Turkish teams are notorious for kind of making these deals and backing out or not making that sort of investment. Obviously, we would never bring in someone like that and pay him that sort of money. But I do think Tammy Abraham is a little bit better, more well-rounded player than Beto as well, and he's English, so I don't know how that would work necessarily. I think part of the challenge is, too, El Bilal Toure, who I loved. I think we both like him a lot. He's off to the African Cup of Nations. He's got a buy option there, too, and a mandatory buy option if he scores 15 goals, and he's not there yet, but he has been playing well for Besiktas. So I don't know what the situation is there, but maybe there's an opportunity, maybe later in the window, perhaps, to wait for Bilal Toure to come back. I don't know. Just some names in there. Bill Torre, I don't think would be an option because I think they'll probably take that one. Yeah. What do we think about Tammy Abraham coming in? I feel like maybe it'd be high wages. I don't know. He's another guy that doesn't finish well in a way.
Right. You kind of run into some of this. Again, I don't know if he really solves the problem. He is a pretty decent player, but as you mentioned, the logistics of the type of deal that you would need to pull off, it just comes across as unlikely. Do kind of like the player, though. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think some of the challenges here, when you start going down through the rest of the list of names, James, there's not looking to be a bunch of great options. Like Premier League loans, for example. Let's hit those. Xerxes, Unal's hurt. Brabi, none of those are going to happen, I don't think. Xerxes would be weird or interesting, but I think his attitude's terrible. Richarlison. I know. He gives you a lot of what Beto does not, and gives you the option to play in other areas. I mean, he'll be 29 in May. Could you do a loan to buy here? I mean, his book value is about $20 million, I think. You wouldn't want to pay that for him, I don't think, yet at his age. But if you did a loan to buy, I mean, maybe that's just saying we're not going to sign Grealish in a way. It might be something that Moyes would want to do, sadly. I don't know. Maybe there's a possibility there, but it just seems unlikely.
It's impossible for me not to have a little bit of a soft spot for Richie.
I know. He's still very good.
He is still very good. He is versatile. He can play across the front. It almost makes me wonder, does that open the possibility of moving McNeil, or does that make that more likely? Because he can, of course, play off the left. You don't necessarily need Dwight there. Maybe you do something like that. So if you move enough guys and you get the right number, it could make sense. But he's still very good. The injuries kind of in and out of the team. He seems to have been on a good run of fitness.
I don't think they'd make a deal for an option to buy, though. You'd think they'd want the obligation.
I think they'd want that money. Yeah, they'd want to just make that kind of finalized and get him out the door. So it seems unlikely, but the romantic in me says, why not?
And look, it's an opportunity to take advantage of another club. I don't know why he's on the outs there. It's very bizarre to me. I think he's such a good player. Not many international loans here, too. Terem Moffi was one. At Nice, he was attacked at the training center a few weeks ago. So, I don't know if he's quite precise enough. But, he's got the physical profile as well. He's signed for a couple years still. Frankfurt has all sorts of issues out there. Wally is not playing at Frankfurt, but, remember he was sued for punching a woman in the face several years ago. He's not the type of guy you want to bring in, I don't think. Batshuayi is not playing. He's 32 now. 32, can you believe that?
That's crazy.
I know. I think he had a foot injury, so I think he's out. Yusuf Paulson is out there with nagging injuries at Hamburg. Duvan Zapata is at Torino. He's got another year. Could be a loan. Yeah, right. But this is kind of what you're looking at,
Yeah.
Okay, couple guys. One name in particular. Free agents in 2026 that you could look to sign. One name stands out, but I don't think it would happen in January, and that is Dusan Vlahovic. He's at Juventus. It sounds like he's going to leave. The problem is he's out for 2 or 3 more months, James, with an abductor. You don't want to mess with that, do you?
No, and again, that could be a long-term type of value to bring him in, but if you're looking for a guy to kind of solve some of Everton's short-term problems, he's not it. And
he doesn't want to sit, too. He's going to want to go to someone where he's going to play right away.
Sure.
And look, he's a good final third player. He's definitely a different profile than Barry, but... And who else we had? Jonas Wind at Wolfsburg's up in the summer? No. Paxton Daka? No.
Definitely not.
Rumors, okay, a couple links to Nicholas Jackson won't meet the loan obligation requirements at Bayern. There's no way Everton's going to buy this guy.
No. I hope not. The fee would be crazy. I don't think he's a bad player necessarily, but...
I don't like his character, man. He annoys me the way he plays.
Yeah. He's very annoying to watch. I'd actually be annoyed with him.
Yeah, actually, there's a few guys on your team that you'd be like, I'd still love to have that guy on my team. I don't want that guy on my team.
Right, exactly.
I think the other legitimate link, Jackson I think is almost more of a second striker too, was Zhu at Midtjylland. I think they rejected a big offer for him in the summer. I don't know if they would look to sell in January. That seems fairly unlikely. That's a club that wants to win their league every year. That might hurt them. Maybe they take a loan back from someone else. I don't know. But so I don't think there are really any links or rumors out there, James, that I think, yes, take a shot on that guy. And not to mention, you already have a young player in Tierno Barry who you probably feel somewhat comfortable starting unless you can really come up with a veteran. Any moves that you see that we went through, James, that you would think maybe could happen, or anyone that you would want to see happen?
Honestly, I mean, even outside of Richarlison, we talked about Mitrovic, not Dovbyk could be one.
I forgot about the Mitrovic sound.
The Mitrovic show was crazy.
People were serious about it. They're like, he'll bang in 30 or whatever. I'm like, good Lord, guys.
Yeah, none of these deals really inspire me in a way that I think it's really worth disrupting the current state. I am more excited by the fact that Tierno Barry scored a couple goals now in the month of December. We look ahead, and Beto has come on and actually looked like an interesting kind of wrinkle to throw into games, like the physicality he adds. I do think this is something you reevaluate in the summer, but I still am convinced that Barry's ceiling is so high that we're best suited just getting him as many minutes as humanly possible and seeing how he develops at the end of the season and evaluate what sort of depth you need. Maybe that second striker is a player like Richarlison that's a more versatile. You don't need two true strikers necessarily.
Yeah, I like that idea. To me, it all banks on whether you can sell Beto or not. If there's an opportunity to move Beto, though, I do think there are a profile or two that you could maybe make a deal for. The Dovbyk thing sounds a little bit weird with Roma, but there is kind of a way that might play out and work. I just don't like the idea of committing any major financial elements to an older player, although you already do have that younger striker, so maybe it would make sense. I don't know. I don't think it's necessary, but I do like the idea of maybe getting a more versatile attacker that can fill in different places, because maybe that enables you to move someone like Dwight McNeil. So I do like that idea. Okay, moving on, the last position we're going to hit here, defensive mid. So if you recall in the summer, we talked about a couple different profiles. One was more of a deeper sitting six, can protect the back line, more of a physical player maybe that has passing range, that could ping it around and really get the ball up the pitch to people and distribute with more passing range, that could control a match more. The other one, we looked at someone that was more of a progressor. I think the move for Merlin kind of gave us more of a progressor. I think we have enough of guys, whether they're good enough's a debate. We have enough guys that I think fit almost like that 8 profile in different ways. Almost too many, don't you think, James? And then we just have news starting today about an eminent Everton move that gives us another name, or at least another number in midfield. I'm curious your take on it.
Yeah, that's of course the news from Everton today that Harrison Armstrong has been recalled from his loan at Preston North End. He's returned to the club as of earlier today. Very interesting one. I think this is a player who obviously Everton fans, myself included, are very excited about. We got glimpses of him in preseason, and we got reports of him and seeing him play a little bit at Preston earlier this season. He had a really good first half of the campaign for them, getting rave reviews, plenty of playing time, starting almost every single match when fit. And I do kind of wonder on, Moyes had been a little bit coy about this. First he's saying, we're evaluating it, then saying it's looking likely, and now it has, of course, happened. I wonder how much of this is a bit of a panic button. Hey, we're so injured, we're so thin on the ground right now, we need this guy back. I like him. I just wonder, does he play? Does he play in this Everton team? And to me, if you're trying to kind of Band-Aid over some gaps for the month of January while AFCON's going on and we have injuries, and then he's going to be pushed to the bench for the remainder of the season, that type of short-term thinking, as any listener of the show will know, is not something that we really subscribe to. I'd much rather him get consistent minutes playing week in, week out in the Championship, return to Everton in the summer, a much more developed player. That said, he's looked really good. I think he's probably good enough to contribute in some way to Everton right now, but he's also not really the profile that we're talking about here.
I think he's just a numbers thing to me, only because, look, if Charlie's out just for a couple matches, if Dewsbury Hall is back sooner, maybe in February, Ghana will be back from international duty. I mean, you're going to have plenty of numbers in this position. So I think he's brought in to basically fill in a number. And I know some people are going to be mad about that. Why bring him back, blah, 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 if you're only going to fill a number. But to me, everything speaks to him. The second Ghana's back, or the second one of these guys are back and ready to go, you'll just flip him back to Preston. And I think that'd be good for him. Look, I've watched him quite a bit this year. I don't love the English Championship to watch necessarily, but I'll watch this kid. He's fantastic on the ball. What I have seen some growth in is the defensive positioning and awareness. It looks a little better. I don't know if his future is like a deep line playmaker as a 6. He's not really that profile, though, to your point, what we'd be looking for. My problem is I don't see a lot of difference between this guy and like a Merlin Roll. And I still don't understand the Merlin Roll acquisition. I like Merlin Roll as a player. I think he's actually a decent talent. But that profile doesn't make any sense to me. So, but we do need numbers. I can't argue that. And I don't think he'd be out of place in the Premier League. And I think it's exciting to have an 18-year-old that can do that. He looks more physical this year. I think that's a nice jump for him. But yeah, I just assume, I hope we can get those guys back, flip him back over. I also say this. If you can move for a right back, there's no need to move Garner or Merlin Roll over there. Like, that creates the depth that I think you need.
Yep.
I can also see Harrison Armstrong playing higher and playing as a 10. Maybe you fill in if that's what you need, or being that kind of dropped almost like a Dewsbury Hall a little bit. So who knows? Maybe he'll get a chance to play. Certainly having another option off the bench that can get on the ball is helpful. But I see this short term, James. I don't know if you feel it differently.
No, I hope that's the case. I hope it's really just bring him back for a few weeks and then send him back to North End where he'll play most week in, week out. This kid is the first truly, I think, academy product with the type of ceiling that gets fans excited.
Oh yeah.
Ben at Everton since he was a little kid. I want him so badly to be successful at this club that I want to make sure we're kind of setting the stage by getting him those minutes at a slightly lower level before we really bring him into the fold.
Yeah, so I think him as a factor, I still think bringing him back, like, I don't think you'd keep him. And so to me, I don't think it really changes the type of profile you look for in the window. So I think it's worth taking a spin and kind of looking at some of these guys out there, whether we miss some or if anyone viable is out there. And I think the problem is that in order to really bring in that guy that you really want, I mean, this seems like more like a summer type thing, where you bring in like a stud back there that can maybe play with Jimmy and play with Dewsbury Hall, and Ghana doesn't feel like he needs to be so contributing or can leave. You know what I mean? There are a lot of different factors in there. Free agents in the summer, just going back to the summer episode, Pasalic at Atlanta, he extended and played there. He's a good player. He's obviously not moving. The relegation guys, Wilfred Ndidi signed with Besiktas. He's at the African Cup of Nations. I don't think he's moving anywhere either, nor do I necessarily think we need to move for him. Calvin Phillips, I know, but there have been links, and he's back at City. He hasn't played. He's signed until 2028. We can't take a loan. I mean, would they sell him on a free? Is this of any interest to us?
No. Just no to me.
He's kind of the right profile, though.
He is, but the injury problems and the lack of game time.
I guess.
Yeah. I just question what he offers you at age 29, a few years removed from when he was a City target. That said, maybe Moyes could resuscitate some performances out of him, and he is that kind of all-action type of guy, or was, as you say. It's so risky that I just almost...
He's older in English.
That is true. It's just such a high-risk move, and I don't know if we're at liberty to take that kind of risk in that type of position in the team right now.
Not on a buy. In my opinion. Alone, it would have been an interesting thing because maybe there is a role for him there. Okay, outside of the UK, I mentioned Busio. I love him. Again, USA. Yeah, he's not the right profile, though, I don't think. You need someone more physical. Premier League loans, I mean... The West Ham group, Edson Alvarez moved to Fenerbahce, and he's hurt, so no.
Snail crew.
Right. Douglas Luiz moved to Forest. That doesn't look like the worst move for us. We were totally against that, I think, universally as a pod, and I'm very happy that didn't happen, honestly.
I think we've been vindicated in that.
I think so, too, honestly. Although maybe he hasn't gotten the right chance there at Forest. I don't know. Guido Rodriguez would be the slowest midfielder we've had since the other Barry at the end of his career. Sorry, but that guy was immobile by the end of it. He's not even close to an option to me. Mangala is back at Lyon. Would you make a loan move for him? I don't know how he's looked. I mean, you're coming off a major injury.
Yeah, that's, again, I liked him quite a bit. The injury last year was very unfortunate, but, maybe a low-risk loan, but I don't think you really want to be, rehabilitating the guy for Lyon on their behalf. I think it was important to bring him in for numbers and depth last year, and he was a pretty good player on the ball, helped us a lot, but I don't think you go back to the well for a guy like him.
No, and to me, unless you're going to make a cheap move for right back, I mean, we're really going to go big at defensive mid. So, like in the summer, we really thought that sort of profile, in essence, the Marlon Roll money went to that in a way. There were a bunch of guys that we liked, like Felix Mecca, who's at Dortmund, but I mean, he's a fixture for them now. He'd probably be 50 million. He's a beast. He's a big guy. He'd be interesting. I don't think he's perfect, but there's no way they'd move him. Marcus Otto at Barcelona is 22. He signed an extension. There are some flaws with his game. I mean, I like the fact that he's courageous, runs around and tackles people, but I don't think he's the right guy either, and he'd be expensive. Yeah, then there's the 18-year-old at Lille, Ayoub Boadid.
I love him.
I know, but I don't think he's someone we can get. I mean, he's going to be a Man City type guy. There's just, I don't think that's a real chance.
Destined for the top, for sure.
Right, and even then too. I mean, you've got your Harrison Armstrong. I mean, it'd be fascinating to just team those two guys up, sitting the two deep. I mean, it would be really interesting. My guy is still Rocco Reitz. Now look, he's got a release clause of 20 million euros this summer. He could play the six. You'd probably rather have him in a bit of freedom at center mid, but he is so wonderful, and I love him. I just think at this point, especially after his performances with the U21s. He would be a tough get. And I think the problem is knowing that he has that release clause, everyone is going to be after him. Who else did we come up? Hugo Larsson, 21 at Frankfurt. Absolute stud. Again, not a guy I think you're going to go get. It's interesting that Lukonga has done okay for Hamburg with all his hamstring injuries. He's played like 12 or 13 times already with like double-digit starts. I know. Looking back on it, I don't think that's... I know. A couple other guys out there. Richard Rio signed with Benfica. No, he's gone. Jashari signed from Bruges, signed with AC Milan. Poor guy broke his fibula. He would have been great. A couple South Americans out there. Pablo Maya, Juan Sforza. I love both those guys. That would be interesting. I don't know if now's the time to do that, but what other time would there be? He gives us an interesting mix. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you do with some of the other guys. I think we got to figure out the midfield first, so I don't see a young guy coming in that isn't so good to plug and play. And I mean, there are any names in here, James, that you look at? I mean, I would love Rocco that you'd be like, yes. I mean, there's one big name, and that's Lamine Camara, 21 years old at Monaco. I mean, he would be really expensive, but like, do we go big for someone like that at this point? Would Monaco sell for anything less than 40 or 50 mil?
I mean, I just have a really hard time seeing Everton spending the type of fee in January that you would need to get a player like him. But at 21, I think he's so good. He could slot in and really be crazy dangerous at a totally different dimension to our midfield.
He would.
Just feels a little bit out of reach for us, both in terms of like the price and like where he'll be setting his sights following Monaco.
I think style of play, too. I don't think we're quite ready to make that transformation as a team that just gets on it. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you what, though. That is the type of guy you eventually want. That guy that could sit deeper. He's a little undersized. I mean, you'd love to see him be a little bit bigger. But the guy that can really control a match. Yes, Lonnie at Inter. He's on loan at Torino. He'd be interesting. A couple other Italian players, too. Danilo moving to Botafogo for 22 million, with the three players coming back to Forest. I mean, talk about shady. I would love to take a shot back on him and bring him back over. Botafogo's under a transfer ban for multiple years. That just sounds shady as heck.
So sketchy.
Let's talk about some of the links. So, obviously, we were linked with El Anaoui, who moved to Roma for 23. He's a good player. Diarra, who moved to Sunderland, who had groin surgery right away. Okay, Florentino Luis, not playing that much at Burnley. That would have been interesting, but there are a couple guys left that are worth noting. Okay, Basuma at Spurs. So he's out of contract in the summer. He's an older guy, had a knee injury, but he's back playing with Mali. Would you take a shot on him if you get him super cheap?
I think on super cheap. The only thing with him is like the alleged attitude issues, and is he a good guy? And to join this group, who I think so far this season have shown like a good collective character, does he disrupt some of that? Talented player, again, kind of fits sort of the profile that we'd be looking for. And if he's very, very cheap, I think you take a punt on just the talent level. We'll see what Spurs want to do, but he is a very interesting one, and actually one that I'd probably expect us to be linked with again.
Yeah, it's kind of an easy link to make.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring his name up, and you're going to have to respond, and that's Thomas Suchek.
Yeah, he has been playing further forward for West Ham. Don't really know. I'm sure West Ham would be absolutely thrilled if someone comes in and offers a lump of cash for Thomas Suchek right now. Not a favorite of this show, as anyone who's listened to us knows. And
Don't you dare, David Moyes.
David Moyes, please don't. Please don't.
Bluest favorite, Moo Cow, 21 years old, Lille. He's played a lot of center back, but this is the exact type of profile that I would love, because we do not have this player. Yeah. We have the guy that could sit back. He is a physical beast. He's still a little raw. I don't think he's quite as good as Lewis thinks he is, frankly. No, not yet. But I think his ceiling is really high. And Lewis insisted that he was more of a defensive mid. And I think he's right, after having watched him. I mean, he really sits back with discipline. He is the type of player that eventually could be that guy that lets the Jimmy Garners, the Tim Irabuna maybe, or Merlin Rolls run around and do their thing, and can protect the back line and gives you kind of a last option at center back. To me, you make a move for a guy like this, you don't have to sign Michael Keane in the summer because he can play center back. I mean, I like the more and more I think about that type of profile really has me interested. Like, I really like him. I think that'd be good. I don't think we do this. But if opportunity knocks, and it's not like Lille doesn't need the money. The other one's interesting, too. Amir Richardson is at Fiorentina. Now, I heard that the Marseille deal was pretty close, but he's not playing, and he is more of an on-ball controlling player that I think can sit deep. They've always played him kind of in the middle because he's very skilled. He's about 6'5". He's skinny. Could have played for the USA, I might add. A little disappointing. He would be fun to watch. I would love for them to take a shot like this, but I don't think this one would be likely. But I would love to see if he couldn't play in that deeper role. But I also think Harrison Armstrong could be kind of that player eventually, too. And this kid's 23. I think you liked him, right, Richardson?
Yeah, I did. I remember liking him quite a bit. The links to other clubs, like, it would be kind of out of the blue if we came in for him. But more than anything else, that type of profile, the type of guy who wants to get on the ball is really, I think, what we should be looking at.
Yeah, so let's talk about a couple of the links that have happened already. We got linked to a player from Croatia, Tony Fruk, which I was like, what on earth are you talking about? It didn't make any sense at all. I'm sure that was agent talk. Suchek, we had already talked about him. Two others that are worth noting. Tyler Morton just turned 23 in October. Former Liverpool player, is at Lyon. He's 6'1". He's from the Wirral, right across the river. They paid $15 million in August, so I doubt he's moving. James, this one doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, he can pass it a bit. He's skinny. Has some length, though. He's maybe more of a defensive mid than Garner, but I don't think he's some amazing upgrade. I think if you're going to bring Harrison Armstrong, you might as well keep him or Merlin over this guy. He is more of a defensive mid. I get it. But I also just don't see this massive fluid beast back there that really gives us anything other than what James Garner could give you if you drop deeper. I like him. He's not a bad player, but I mean, you don't pay for a guy like this. The other guy is Conor Gallagher. Okay, doesn't fit the profile. 25. He's at Atletico Madrid. Not a locked-in starter in their 4-4-2. Doesn't fit the profile at all. Would you make a move in January for a guy like this? I mean, could you play a three-man mid and throw him in there, put Jimmy Gardner behind him and Dewsbury Hall maybe? Is that a little bit ambitious? What do you think? I mean, this guy does seem like a Moyes type of player, though.
He 100% seems bang on. Moyes would be all over it. I do like Gallagher as a player, and I actually do kind of like the possibility of Everton moving to like a true three-man midfield versus playing with the 10, if you have the right personnel to do it. And I think Gallagher would help a little bit with that. I just think you have too much redundancy with the current guys, too much kind of overlap, and you need the clearly differentiated roles to fill it. But for the right price, I do think he'd be an interesting addition and would give us, he'd give us more depth. I don't know if he gives us that differentiation, though.
I mean, he's pretty good. You'd have to find a way to get him on the pitch, obviously.
For sure.
So he's very active. I just, now you're just, maybe opportunity knocks. It seems like far-fetched to me.
Yeah.
But, God, he does seem like a fit for Moyes, doesn't he? If he wants to come back to England, where else would he go? I don't know.
No, I think it like if he were to move back to England, this is a logical choice. I think he'd have plenty of, Dewsbury Hall and Grealish would have plenty of nice things to say to try to pull him back. And it would really be an interesting second half of the season with Gallagher featuring.
And we need goals. I mean, he definitely can score from midfield. He makes us more aggressive, more front foot. It'd be very interesting. Doesn't fit the profile at all. But if we don't think we're going to make that sort of move, he also gives you a versatile attacking player, too. He could play a 10 as well. He's not just purely an 8. He's even played some of the wings.
Do you pushes Charlie fully to the periphery,
Maybe. I mean, Charlie can play on the left side, though, too, and allows you to move Dwight. I mean, we have plenty of left footers at this point. We don't necessarily need Dwight anymore. I don't know. It's an interesting factor. So a couple of guys, let's hit these guys real quick. Fred, we are linked to him. He's 32 at Fenerbahce. That would be a loan. He's playing a bit. That just seems absurd.
Yeah.
Kind of the right profile, though, actually. Hayden Hackney, 23 years old at Middlesbrough. I can't stand this guy. I just don't like this player at all. He is reckless. He's a bad decision maker. I keep seeing us linked to him, and I keep seeing people saying he's the greatest thing he should play, and I really question if any of these people have watched football at all. There's a reason why he didn't move. The reason why he's not playing in the Premier League, he's 23. It's not like he's 18. No, absolutely not. Kobe Mainu.
Oh, man. This one got a lot of people excited. Kobe Mainu. You've got people at United that want to see him feature more. We know he's had his troubles with Amorim there. Feels like someone Moyes, again, would kind of want to take under his wing, but he just doesn't really fit the bill for whatever to need right now. He's a pretty exciting young player, but I'm not convinced he's as good as other people seem to think. I think he probably does give us a bit of a different look, different option. He'll have plenty of interest. I don't think we could guarantee him, or even, I don't think we would offer him the type of playing time that he's really looking for.
I don't trust him to sit back as a 6.
Yeah.
I think he's got about the level of discipline as Tim Irabunum. I don't think this would make any sense at all. I think this kid has been overrated from day one. He's only 20. He can get a lot better. I'm not saying he can't. But, yeah, I don't understand why a lot of these young kids get overhyped very early, and he was playing a lot, but you have to he's almost not a luxury player, but he's so lacking discipline. You've got to fit him in a third-man midfield. Now, he gives you some progression. He can move the ball and ping it around a bit, and he still may pan out. I don't trust guys that make bad decisions. I just don't, and I don't think he's a good decision maker. And he's as reckless as Tim is with the ball, trying to run with it and make plays. So I don't think it's a fit, but you never know. I mean, he's a young guy. Moyes can maybe show him the ropes or give him a chance. We got linked with Sabari from PSV's 24. He'll be way too expensive, and he's an absolute maniac. He doesn't fit the profile for me at all. So I don't think that those guys make a lot of sense. Okay, we talked about a lot of names again. James, any of these people in here intrigue you? Any of them you think we actually could move for?
There's many that intrigue me, and it's not really the same as the guys who I think we would move for. Going back through the list, I mean, Florentino Luis, I don't know, maybe interesting. Of the other guys, I think, obviously, Lamine Camara would be like the dream guy, but too expensive. Even like a Richard Rios, who I really liked in the summer, he's at Benfica, probably not. I know you love Rocco. I love Rocco. It just feels like we just missed the bill with him.
Yeah.
Could have maybe got him in the summer, but now it's probably too far-fetched. Always love Wadi, but for guys we're going to realistically move for, I think you're looking at Gallagher, Basuma, and Kobe Mainu. Like, those are the low-hanging fruit, obvious guys that feels like David Moyes in a January window would be looking to get.
I like Mukau. I would make a move for him. Probably what I think would be best is wait for the summer. And I think you've got a strange midfield anyway. Move a couple guys out. If you were going to bring in someone on loan, maybe that would work out. But I really don't think if you're bringing Harrison Armstrong in that you're going to need the numbers. I would love a true 6. I really would. I just think that's the position you go big in the summer. And you see if you can get maybe – you could convince people more of the project, assuming we sneak in the top half and we just look a lot better. We make some investments in the summer and suddenly more and more attractive proposition, I guess. But, I mean, a guy like Mukau, I think, makes a lot of sense if we were going to make a move, because that's the profile we really don't have. And I love the idea of not feeling compelled to sign Michael Keane. I know we probably will anyway. I know he's been okay. I've probably been more critical of him than most because I think there's some serious flaws there. But otherwise, I mean, I would love to see one of the young guys from South America. I know it's not going to happen, but I would love to see it. I just think to have, like, there's so many good South Americans that come over and can play midfield in the Premier League. Like, no offense to the average English player. There's so much English talent. So many great attacking players. I don't see a lot of midfielders that I really enjoy. And I think there's still a historical preference to the 4-4-2 in England, and I think it just doesn't, it's not that conducive to developing that type of six player. And I would love to have that player. I just don't know if we're quite ready to transition to a player like Kamara where we could be on ball and really dominate the ball yet. I think you need a few more components, especially at fullback, frankly. Because what good is having a six that can sit on it constantly and hold the ball and get the players up if you're pushing Mikalenko up and Jake O'Brien?
Right.
I don't know. That's my thought. So I'm not seeing an obvious move here. I will say this. It'd be kind of entertaining to see Conor Gallagher come maybe on a loan with an option. But no, Mukau would be the only one I look at this list and I think, oh, yay, that would be a really interesting move, and I could see that paying off if there's opportunity. Again, if there's not opportunity, though, I think this one can wait.
Yeah, I think that brings us to the close of the episode, and I think it really depends on what this recruitment team views Everton's current situation as. We talked about at the very top. Overperforming a little bit relative to the performances. It's been a good season by all accounts, a vast improvement over the last few years, but I think you just have to accept that, at least from my point of view, this team will be improved year over year. And I think that's good enough. You're safe from relegation. You don't need to do anything rash in the window. I don't think we need to try to overextend our finances.
No.
To go get a guy to like push for Europe this season. As fun as that would be, it's not to say like I don't want Everton to be there, but I want Everton to be there for the next 10 to 15 years. I don't want them to overextend and go for it this year and lose sight of the long-term picture. And I don't think that's something we'll do, even though Kinnear in the past, that's been at Leeds, that was kind of their idea. They come up and they try to get there as quickly as possible. I just think right back, if we go big and we get one signing and we get a right back, I think you really set the stage for a fantastic second half of the season. This team will improve dramatically with the return of Jared Branthwaite. With Branthwaite and a true right back, you move Jake O'Brien over, you get everyone back from AFCON and from injury, and we're set. I just don't feel the need to really go too crazy other than that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the right back would make a big impact. Last comment, left back. If we loan out Aznou, yeah, we need someone. I'm totally against this idea, though. I kind of wanted your take on it before we go forward.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on the post-match earlier. He was warming up. He didn't get into the game. If with the thin squad that we had against Forest, he's not able to get any minutes, I just think that's a true indictment of how Moyes views the player. And if we do loan him out, like at least he'll get minutes. But I think he still should be getting minutes for this Everton team. So it's a real puzzler to me that he hasn't been featured at all, yet to make an appearance. And I would be really disappointed to see him go out on loan because I think he just has so much promise, which people are really criticizing this move because he hasn't played, not realizing like this kid is a true elite prospect. And we're doing him a huge disservice by not getting him any exposure to the league.
Yeah, very much. And I think there have been too many scenarios where he could have put him in, and you'd know a little bit more what you have by now for this season to determine whether it's a loan or not. Now people will say, well, he's seen him in training, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm tired of that training argument. He's not training well, or, Dwight McNeil was so good in training he plays. Training is not the games. It's not. And those are different scenarios, and I don't know really what you expect. You don't want to hand opportunities. You want people to earn it. But gosh, you can't give this kid any opportunity whatsoever. I mean, he might surprise him. So, just like Dibbling has. I don't know. I think this would be a terrible idea. If we do that, I think having a more attacking player makes sense. And maybe we opt for a fullback that can play both sides. It's more of an attacking player anyway. I don't know. But I think it's a bad idea. And I hope we don't do that. If we do, maybe we move for a left back. I do think it's worth exploring selling Mikalenko in the summer at least. I just don't think if you're going to invest and play JB and Jake, for example, by the end of the year and play a higher line, and you have a right back now that can play higher as well too, that's a little more skilled. If you get a 6 in the summer that can protect that back line a little bit, again, I think you're going to need someone that can push up higher. And Mikalenko, you see him drop back behind players at times. It's not a good scene. But I think you can do fine with him the rest of the year. He does have his moments of locking people down. But, yeah, I think this would be a bad move. If it does happen, we'll be back to you at the Blue Frontier, going through options, looking at left back possibilities. But other than that, James, I think once again we hit a bunch of names. If people want to go back and hear more specifics on what we think of these players, you've got your team assessments. Heaven knows we put enough hours into it this summer. But, yeah, I mean, there's some interesting options here, and it's going to be very interesting to see what Everton does.
100%, and we will stay close to it, obviously, as the month unfolds, so stay with us, and we'll have coverage for you. Hope you enjoyed this one. As always, if you did, leave us a comment on the episode, like the video, subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, leave us a rating and review. Otherwise, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be with you next time. Until then, up the Toffees.